Challengers Quanell X and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Talk about his politics a little bit. I know that you had some discussions.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. Because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up?
Here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
So Quanell, that was an interview of Vance Bolter, the murderer of two Minnesotans, including a female state representative and also responsible for the serious injury of a state senator and his wife. This Vance Bolter guy, there was this immediate rush to politicize this, right? He had apparently been appointed to a board by former vice presidential nominee or candidate Tim Walz, and there was a lot of people on the right clamoring that this guy was a progressive or a leftist, and that this was based on the state representative Hortman, the female that was killed, her and her husband, on a vote where she sided with the Republicans on the extension of some benefits, some health benefits to illegal aliens. Of course, there was his roommate and other people who came back and said, no, this man was a Trump supporter and a diehard conservative. It does look like from the target list that was found that he was going after abortion clinics. Apparently there was one yet to be named celebrity, but a left-leaning or a progressive celebrity, and then Democrat politicians. But there's an overwhelming, I saw from John Pavlitz has an op-ed that he wrote today on his Substack that basically said this exposes all of MAGA America for its extremism and their propensity for violence. Of course, we don't hear that like when the trans shooter in Nashville targeted the Christian kids at the Christian school. We had this media-wide obfuscation, and we don't see this blanket blaming of trans people when an Islamist engages in terror, like the Pulse shooting in Florida. We don't hear the media stand up and say, oh, all the Islamists are bad.
But they do call it Islamic terrorist.
Well, there is a lot of Islamic terror, but you don't sit there and impute it to all Muslims. But every time a conservative does something, there are so many people that step forward and say, oh, this is what's wrong with everyone that supports Donald Trump. It sounds like this was an extremist monster, and all of us reasonable people should, instead of trying to point the fingers across the ideological aisle, or those like me that stand in the middle point it both ways, we should stop blaming people because of their underlying politics or religion that people have, and just start focusing on not being tolerant of these extremist monsters that are all over the damn place.
But I find it very interesting that you speak like this when the killer, the psychopathic killer, who did it strictly for political and religious reasons, for this same man act as a deacon and member of the pastoral board in his church, and there's videos of him out there preaching in the church the very philosophy and ideology that many would call extremism.
Okay.
But this man did this, and the FBI concluded just 2 years ago that the most dangerous extremist domestic terrorists in America are white males. And now this man backs up what many know is real in the base of the MAGA movement. Most certainly all MAGA followers and supporters are not like this. Of course not. But we cannot deny or pretend that that extremist element does not exist in both bases. We just watched a Democrat, devout Democrat, go to a baseball game just a couple of years ago and shoot and kill politicians and wound
You're
politicians.
Talking about the Scalise shooting?
Yes.
Time flies. I think that was 6-7 years ago.
The bottom line is, Charles, These extremists exist on both sides of the aisle in America.
Okay.
And you know who's really to blame? Two entities, politicians and mainstream media, because you have media outlets that demonize one side of the political aisle and make it a profession to do so. Then you have another media outlet that demonize Democrats on this side, Republican hate on this side, and the people are just sucking it up. Then you have politicians like Mr. Trump who say some very extreme things. Then they sit back and they watch how a sitting United States senator will go to a press conference and raise questions in a manner that they do not like in the Trump administration. He's wrestled to the ground like a common criminal and handcuffed. Then they can sit back and they can watch someone on the flip side of this go to elected officials' homes and gun them down dressed as a real law enforcement officers with all of the apparatus and gadgets. But what's even strange about this shooting, allegedly at the second shooting, the police saw him coming from the home and engaged in gunfire with him, and he left his vehicle. Why in the hell did he get away? How did they catch him coming from the home, exchange gunfire with him? He leaves his vehicle, and at that age, that old man runs away and gets out of the neighborhood? What's wrong with this story? I do not believe he did this all on his own. I believe he had somebody helping him and backing him. But Charles, America is unraveling, man. This country is unraveling. We see millions of people take to the streets this past weekend protesting the sitting administration. Then we watch the sitting administration hold a military celebration that looks like he's from North Korea. Look, man, America is unraveling. And if we don't do something to lower the temperature in this nation, North Korea benefits, Russia benefits, Iran benefits, China benefits. Why? Because this great empire, and it is great, it is unraveling from the inside out.
Well, you hit, I don't know, about 30 topics. Most of them were not on point for this discussion that was supposed to be Vance Bolter. I'll try to remember them all and take them and rejoinder. One, it is not just the mainstream media that is benefiting from the engagement from extremist rhetoric. In fact, they probably benefit the least, right? It is the Alex Joneses of the world. It is the Dr. Umars of the world. It is the secondary extremist media. You're absolutely wrong. By Dr. Umar getting up there and talking about snow bunnies and how evil white people are, or Alex Jones getting up there and talking about, he's no longer talking about Sandy Hook, but talking about all these crazy theories.
But this subject matter ain't got nothing to do with Dr. Umar talking about snow bunnies.
I'll let you go on.
Snow bunnies is like about relationships and black men leaving black women for white women.
I am not,
but that has nothing to do with exciting the minds of the people to kill fellow Americans.
I'm not trying to hear your rabid defense of a rabid racist.
No, that's not what this is about.
Okay,
but his rhetoric is not causing people to kill other Americans.
Okay, you talked about a dozen things it wasn't about, and I didn't interrupt you. Okay, the truth is, you apologize a lot, but you keep doing it.
But I can't with my brother like that, attack him and I'll be quiet.
If he's your brother, then I'm not, right? Because he hates white people.
He is my brother.
But
he don't hate white people.
So
he hates white supremacy.
Bolter probably did have assistance. There's some reporting that his wife had some materials that laid some alarm in a car that was stopped. This guy is a monster, but the media as a whole, in the extremist media, it angers people and engages people, divides people, and that's why they monetize it. That's where they make the money. We need more centrist voices.
If you're right,
we need
they're
more
playing
people
a
to
role.
talk truth. Well,
so they're playing a role.
You do this.
They're playing a role in this hate.
That's what you do.
No, absolutely. I just warn America.
I'm Isaiah Carey, here to shake things up with the stories that hit hard and matter most. Here on The Factor, we cover news with grit and authenticity. We challenge the status quo and get down to real talk and bold discussions. Join us as we amplify the voices that disrupt, inspire, and lead the charge for change. Your story is power, and we're here to unleash it. The Isaiah Factor Uncensored. New episodes weeknights at 9:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. not wondering anymore. Love, your mind.
Hey, besties!
What is a bestie?
I like you.
She's fun.
It's about to be a good time!
She's always looking out for you.
Since you're my bestie, I will handle it for you.
She makes you think.
Here to uplift and empower.
She's always encouraging.
You are that girl.
Chelsea Edwards, your bestie in daytime.
I get the spiritual moments.
Chatting with Chelsea. New episodes weekdays at 5:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first-round draft pick. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father and as a husband. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
There's buildings being burned down, police cars being bricked, having explosive devices thrown on them, having fire, guns pointed at them, bricks thrown at them, all in all. So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tight because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not gonna play.
This round, here's Quanell X.
Well, Charles, that was a press conference being held by a sheriff in Florida who decided to make some serious warning to those participating in the No Kings protest. He is right to warn them not to break the law, that there are consequences to breaking the law, and that they would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I understand that. But when you start making remarks about if you block a car and one of our citizens can't get through traffic and you block traffic, you might get ran over and drugged to the other side of the road. When you went further, Mr. Sheriff, to make remarks stating that if you pick up a rock, I understand that, that's a violation of the law. But then if you point a weapon at one of our officers, we'll kill you and you'll be graveyard dead. If you break the law in this parameter, one of our big, beautiful dogs might bite you. Well, Mr. Sheriff, you ain't the only one got big, beautiful dogs, partner. See, this man is speaking language not of a sitting elected official that respects the law and respects people's right to protest. They have a constitutional right to do that. Don't break the law, but those type of threats. Let me talk directly to Mr. Potbelly Sheriff. You hillbilly redneck. You be very careful of what protesters you choose to play that game with. Because some of us know and have participated in armed protests. And so when you threaten if somebody point a gun at one of your officers, you're going to kill them graveyard dead. Well, what happens when one of your officers prematurely point a gun at a protester, and that's illegal because they're not doing it? It's going to justify one of your deputies pointing a gun at them. Do we get to kill your deputy graveyard dead? What happens when one of your officers prematurely takes a nightstick and hit somebody or pepper spray somebody prematurely? Do the protesters get a right to take that same stick and whoop you across your head with it? Be careful with your threats, because you're not going to punctify some of us who hold protest. I wish he would try that in Texas.
You don't wish he would, and this goes to what we were just talking about.
I guarantee some of us got big dogs. We got pit bulls.
I sat there
some
in
of us
silence
got pit bulls to deal with your damn German shepherds.
Advocated for extremist violence, right? But it's now my turn to talk. Just last segment, we were talking about how the media wants to incite violence to achieve monetization through engagement. It's a horrible idea. Now, clearly, this guy was engaged in a lot of bravado in an effort that I assume he saw to get some social media and media attention, which he did, and to discourage people from engaging in crime masquerading as protest. I will say, firstly, I want to applaud the people that, I think the underlying rationale of the No Kings protest was kind of silly, right? No one was crying about no kings when we were locked in our homes, when businesses were being destroyed, when the false narrative of COVID wrecked our economy and destroyed so many lives, right? And that was king stuff. That was beyond the scope of the Constitution, and it robbed many Americans of civil liberties. We didn't have any protests then. Now we have this kind of fictional protest that Donald Trump's trying to be the king, but people earnestly believe it. I earnestly support the right to freedom of assembly and the right to free speech. And in Houston, we had, I think it was about 26,000 people turn out, and we saw no violence, right? And I applaud that. In other major cities in Texas and major cities in Florida, you didn't see the violence that marred the protests in California that did do all of the things he was talking about.
Well, what justified him threatening people like that?
Well, I think
when none of that is taking place in Florida.
Okay, but he was saying, I think very appropriately, if you point a gun at a cop, you're going to get shot. You should get shot.
But what if the cop points the gun inappropriately at a protester?
I know you're engaging.
Do they got a right to fire back?
Imaginary
Oh,
thing.
that's a lie.
Okay.
There's videos of doing the George Floyd protests of cops pointing guns like this at protesters who were not committing crimes.
Well,
and then remember General Russell Honore in New Orleans when they had the flood in New Orleans with Katrina evacuees. He went and told the military and the police, put those guns down, because they was pointing guns at people inappropriately. Do the people have a right to do the same thing that this sheriff said they would do when authorities point guns at them inappropriately?
I think what you're referring to in George Floyd was the pointing of less than lethal devices
No, these were assault rifles they were pointing.
At less than lethal devices, firing rubber bullets at people that were refusing to comply with an order to disperse. There is a very demarcated, very clear line between riots and looting and the freedom of assembly. And we have, especially the left, but also the right on January 6th, has conflated the two, and I think inappropriately, horribly inappropriately, and we've allowed so many loud, toxic voices, like yours, to usurp the narrative of sincere, earnest, we're upset. We also do have paid protesters. We have paid incitement. This is all, when you talk about last thing about unraveling America, by preaching what you're preaching, hey, let's go, use violence.
But not what he's saying?
No, I think that it was an effort to discourage looting and violence.
So all of that, those threats was just discourage violence and looting.
But I think that was very, he didn't say.
So now you telling me.
He did not say, I'm going to go kill people for doing nothing.
Wait a minute. And I did not say that we're going to kill cops for no reason. I took his same words and used them against him. Do we have a right as citizens to say to that sheriff, if one of your dogs bite us, inappropriately, well, then it'll be a dead dog.
Okay.
Do we have a right to say that? Do we have a right to tell that sheriff, if one of your dogs get loose, like they have in the past, and bite an innocent person, do we have a right to put our pet bull on your punctified shepherd? Do we have a right to talk like that to the sheriff?
The free speech clause of the First Amendment
we do.
Says you have that right. I don't think it's helpful rhetoric. You do remind me of a time where a dog, a police dog here in town, a friend of mine's police dog, bit another officer and ripped his ball out.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, right? But anyway, not on topic. Let's not talk about people getting, what do you call that when they clip them, like Game of Thrones? When they
neutered.
Not neutered, there's a term for it. He only lost
Spayed
one.
And neutered.
I think they put it back in.
But this sheriff is out of control.
Look, no, I mean,
those are straight up veiled threats.
It's not
so let me ask you a question.
Let
me ask you a question.
But it's just like, I want to be on social media. I want to be
Take
popular.
a man like me that has led armed protests.
Okay.
I've led armed protests.
Right.
You think he could talk to me like that?
Well, let's talk about armed protests. If we have enough time, in Salt Lake, we had a tragic death of a television star who also was a Samoan fashion designer who he went by Afa. His name was Arthur Falasa Alu, but his pseudonym was Afa. He was shot simply because he stood next to an armed protester. That armed protester in Salt Lake. Do we have a clip? Do we have time to play the clip, Matt?
So people talk about,
Utahns are still reeling after a shooting occurred during the No Kings protest in downtown Salt Lake City.
It was happy. It was so happy, and people were cheering, and I had no idea that this was going to happen.
And what we thought was being the right thing ended up with us both almost losing our life.
According to Salt Lake City Police, 24-year-old Arturo Gamboa had an AR-15 style rifle in his backpack. Police say 2 men in yellow high-visibility vests were part of the peacekeeping group assigned to assist with safety. They go on to say the peacekeepers said
Okay, so the only person arrested and charged with murder was this guy Arthur Gamboa. And even if you're believing all the reporting, he had an AR-15 just in his backpack, which is lawful in Salt Lake City. And he's an extreme leftist, so he aligned with the No Kings parade. But another on a paid security detail from the, I forget the name, I think it was 5150, but there was an organization this guy was associated with that is, the people paying people to go out there and be upset. But on their security force, who was also armed, he shot at Gamboa, right? Grazed Gamboa, but hit this completely unrelated guy and killed him. And I can't speak to Utah law, but in Texas, the right to self-defense is not transferable. The right to defense of a third party is not transferable. And if you make a mistake, you're guilty for that action because he intentionally shot that gun. It's my understanding the shooter hasn't even been arrested, and the guy that's been arrested was literally just carrying his assault rifle in a pack. That's insane.
But that's why I question how authentic this reporting really is.
Okay.
Because it makes no sense. If he only had the weapon in his backpack, which is legal by Utah law.
Well, I don't know, but I believe that it is.
But even if it wasn't legal, I don't think it's going to shoot somebody that's in their backpack like that.
Right.
And these gentlemen who are security officers, etc.
They're not trained security. They're just guys running around with little pink badges.
So how does it make sense that they could shoot an innocent bystander and not be arrested?
It doesn't.
That's why
Insane.
That's why I question just how authentic of the information is.
Here's the thing.
About that
report.
I'm
talking about. You're talking about armed protests. This is what I'm talking about. We have a freedom, like you want to talk, can I tell the sheriff that? Yes, of course you can. We have free speech.
I tell him to his face.
We have freedom of assembly. But you can do all that. Do we need to be running around talking about shooting and killing people?
But guess what, though? Tell that to the sheriff.
Okay, it was just attention
because
seeking.
It sounded like he was trying to exacerbate the situation more than bring calm to it.
The mainstream media and left-wing politicians were pretending for days that there wasn't violence. We saw Matt Seardorf.
But it was really only in L.A. It was really only in L.A., not across the country. So what justified that Florida sheriff talking like that?
During the George Floyd season of protests, we saw it tumble like dominoes.
But it did not happen in Florida like that.
Well, we did, and that's the question. Did it not happen?
So what justified that half-cocked sheriff talking like that when the citizens of his county and city don't behave like that?
Well, but
what justified his language?
They had behaved like that in the past.
No, not in his county they didn't.
Oh, yes, they did.
So you mean to tell me that their behavior in his county justified that man talking like that?
I don't think it was justified.
That man's crazy.
But I equally think it's crazy you saying
well, look here, be careful you threaten, Mr. Sheriff.
Hey, it's your girl, Carolina Sanchez, and The Nightcap is the late-night show where no topic is off limits. Join me as we dive into the wild world of relationships, sex, and everything in between. From hilarious dating disasters to steamy secrets, you know we've got it all. We've got celebrity guests, expert advice, and a cocktail in hand. The Nightcap is your guilty pleasure. So grab your drink and tune in because the best stories start after dark.
The Nightcap. New episodes weeknights at 10:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
I'm Isaiah Carey, here to shake things up with the stories that hit hard and matter most. Here on The Factor, we cover news with grit and authenticity. We challenge the status quo and get down to real talk and bold discussions. Join us as we amplify the voices that disrupt, inspire, and lead the charge for change. Your story is power, and we're here to unleash it.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored. New episodes weeknights at 9:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father and as a husband. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. Not wondering anymore. Love your mind.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. Not wondering anymore. Love your mind.
Hey, it's your girl, Carolina Sanchez, and The Nightcap is the late night show where no topic is off limits. Join me as we dive into the wild world of relationships, sex, and everything in between. From hilarious dating disasters to steamy secrets, you know we've got it all. We've got celebrity guests, expert advice, and a cocktail in hand. The Nightcap is your guilty pleasure. So grab your drink and tune in because the best stories start after dark.
The Nightcap. New episodes weeknights at 10:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
Ready to lose track of time the best way possible?
Rolling!
From the funniest videos to the wildest things online, we do the scrolling so you don't have to.
It's Usher. He had that synthetic hair melting. You hear me? Why y'all talking about that lady hair like that? Ain't it alone?
Catch us every weeknight, 7 p.m. Central on Fox Soul.
Louder for the people in the back.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father and as a husband. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Well, on Fox Face-Off, we tell the raw, unadulterated truth.
Fox Soul Face-Off.
We are given the platform here with no fear.
Always comes out swinging.
We should be saying, hey, stop shooting and killing people.
Nothing held back.
They wanted black hip-hop moguls and artists to continue the feud.
No punches pulled.
And shut the hell up.
You interrupt me all the time.
Tune into the show where opinions collide. Fox Soul Face-Off. New episodes weeknights at 9 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
As we work to get through these times together, you may not be thinking about blood donation, but blood is needed to save the lives of people who are sick with a range of illnesses. It's easy and safe to give. If you are in good health, please donate. We need heroes now. Visit redcrossblood.org to schedule an appointment.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
I'm Isaiah Carey, here to shake things up with the stories that hit hard and matter most. Here on The Factor, we cover news with grit and authenticity. We challenge the status quo and get down to real talk and bold discussions. Join us as we amplify the voices that disrupt, inspire, and lead the charge for change. Your story is power, and we're here to unleash it.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored. New episodes weeknights at 9:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul. The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a great show planned for you. But many people are talking about the tragedy out of Minnesota this weekend, just mind-blowing. 57-year-old Vance Bolter is facing second-degree murder charges filed in Hennepin County, where he's accused of killing former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, early Saturday morning at their Brooklyn Park home in Minneapolis. He's also accused of shooting State Senator John Hoffman, also a Democrat, and his wife Yvette in their nearby Chaplin home in a related attack. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office on Monday announced that it intends to file first-degree murder charges against the suspect. Now, joining us here on the